What's up, YouTube? It's the Console Samurai with Grown Ups Gaming. With E3 over now, we're once again asking the inevitable question we ask every year after E3. Who won E3? I don't think it's an easy question to answer, especially given the fact that what we saw this year at E3, we saw great things from all three companies. We also saw very different things from all three companies. So it's very difficult to compare them. From Xbox, we saw two major hardware announcements, the Xbox One Slim and the Xbox One Scorpio. We also saw announcements about the Xbox brand in general and various new features that are coming out, like Xbox Play Anywhere, which you buy an Xbox One game and you get a digital copy of it for the PC. Um, we didn't really see any hardware announcements from either Nintendo or PlayStation. Now we know they both have new consoles coming out, the PlayStation 4 Neo and Project NX, but we didn't really see anything about either of them at E3 this year, which we kind of knew. We knew that was going to happen, that we weren't going to see anything about them. From PlayStation, we saw a major peripheral information about the PlayStation VR. We saw new information about the actual release date itself, not just kind of when it was coming out. We saw a list of which games were coming out. They got to test them. We got to see demos of some of the VR games. Definitely a major announcement for this peripheral. And as I've mentioned in my previous videos, I do think virtual reality is going to be the next big thing in gaming. Is it going to be around for the next 10, 15, 20 years? Maybe not. But I think it will be around for a few years at the very least. So I do think PSVR was a major announcement. And Nintendo, we really didn't see any, from Nintendo or Microsoft, we didn't really see any peripheral information, although Microsoft did mention that most of the competitors' virtual reality headsets would work with them, but that was just about it. From Nintendo, we saw very little hardware or peripheral at all. We saw a lot of software information. Particularly, we saw the new Zelda game, which is a game that people have been looking forward to for quite some time. We had a little teaser last year at E3, but we got a lot more information this year. From PlayStation, we got a little bit more. We got a lot of software from PlayStation, but I'm not really sure how to qualify which one had better information, or how to compare the information or the software we got from PlayStation or Nintendo. We saw a lot of information about a few exclusives from Nintendo, and we saw a little bit of information from a lot of exclusives on PlayStation. We really didn't see a lot of information about Microsoft's exclusives, so it is really difficult to kind of compare them. But I am going to try to do this, and I'm going to try to remain impartial while doing this. This year, I do think that PlayStation won, just because of the volume of what they actually showed and the quality of what they showed. Now, if there's a winner, there of course has to be a loser. And unfortunately this year, I think that loser is Xbox. And there's a very good reason for that. It's not that Xbox is a bad brand. It's not that what they showed off was bad. It's that the way they showed everything off was really questionable. As I mentioned, Xbox is releasing two new consoles within the next year. One of them being the Xbox One Slim, which is a smaller, slightly more powerful version of the one we have now. Followed by a year and a half from now, the Xbox One Scorpio, which is going to be much more powerful than what we have now. It's going to be, basically, it's going to be the 1.5, the Xbox 1.5. It's going to be a much more powerful version of the Xbox. But the problem with that is that as soon as that comes out, it's going to render the current one and the Xbox One Slim completely obsolete. Completely obsolete. It's very questionable, the fact that they're doing it this way, because if you couple that with Xbox Play Anywhere, which the idea, as I mentioned, was you buy an Xbox One game, you get the equivalent PC digital version free. It's the next step. It does make sense in their whole overall plan of Windows and Xbox integration. But the problem is that PlayStation and Xbox are pursuing these 4K consoles to try to prevent people from jumping over to PC, particularly PlayStation. Xbox really doesn't care about it because, well, to be honest, because Xbox is doing that anyway. Xbox is phasing out, well, not phasing it out, but they're blurring the lines so much between Xbox and PC that they're giving away all of their exclusives. Exclusives have always been what kept these alive. They're the cherry on top of the sundae. Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong, Pokemon. They've always been what kept Nintendo alive. Um, Uncharted, Last of Us, Jack and Daxter, God of War. All of these have always been what kept PlayStation alive. Xbox has what as exclusives now? You have Gears of War and Halo. They've given away every other exclusive that's coming out. And let's be honest, it's not going to be that long before Gears of War and Halo go also over to PC. And that's going to be the big problem. Once everything has been integrated completely across the board, what's going to stop people from just buying a PC and giving up on the Xbox home console? If they're going to be coming up with a new console every year and a half that completely renders the previous one obsolete, there's not going to be any logic behind going and buying a new Xbox console. I think that's a huge misstep in their regard, is I think that they are undermining it and they're killing the Xbox brand, whether they mean to or not. As I've mentioned in previous videos before, I did see this coming, that it was just going to go a little too far. The idea of having crossplay on Xbox and PC is a great idea. Or, you know what, crossplay across the board is a great idea. Having some features shared makes sense. Having all features shared just makes one of them redundant. And it's going to be Xbox, because PCs have so much more versatility. They have the ability to, play all these games that are on Xbox, and they have the ability to do so much that just a laptop can do. And that's going to be a problem for Xbox in the long run. But what do you think? Did you see E3? Who did you think had the best show? Either way, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Once again, I'm the Console Samurai, and I'll see you around.